Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews. It's Gaming Friday. I'm Gary.
And I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of gum.
Yeah, well, me too, actually. We're playing Duke Nukem 3D World Tour 20th Anniversary Edition.
Yeah.
It's quite a mouthful, actually.
Yeah.
And, you know, this comes from Gearbox. I mean, Gearbox Studios, who released this back in 2016, of course, going back 1996 when Duke Nukem 3D was released, which wasn't the first Duke Nukem game, but
No,
the
it
first
was not.
3D one.
Yes.
Of course, he transitioned from a platformer to first-person shooter,
Yep.
and has pretty much remained that way, although there's been quite a few other platformer, or 3D platformer variations of Duke.
Yeah.
This is the prize game in the Duke Nukem series. And so Gearbox, wanted to do something special for Duke.
Yeah.
Considering they kind of botched together what was left of Duke Nukem Forever.
Well, they fixed and released what was put together for Duke Nukem Forever. It wasn't all of them.
No, it was 3D Realms
Yeah.
who kind of dropped the ball lots and lots, or over and over.
Yeah, over and over, yeah.
Yeah. And so, Gearbox eventually, patched it together and released it with the promise that the next Duke Nukem game they will be making from scratch and it will be all theirs.
Yeah.
But instead, they didn't do that. They've re-released Duke Nukem but this is where it gets interesting. This is why the 20th Anniversary Edition is slightly different, because, I mean, if you're looking at this right now, you're like, well, I don't remember this level at all.
Yeah, this is a whole new chapter made by the game developers.
So they actually brought in the original game developers from 1996 to create new levels for Duke Nukem. And, Duke Nukem 3D had quite a few expansions already.
Yes.
And so this kind of feels like an expansion that's come 20 years later. But because of the art style and looking at it, you could almost this is an alternate timeline where you could imagine if this was released along with all the other Duke Nukem content, it seems quite faithful.
Yeah. I think what always makes it stand out for me is that the Duke Nukem games, every iteration of them has had its own little standing point. Like if you ever played Duke Nukem 3D on the PlayStation 1, they had the original 3 chapters, which pretty much every single Duke Nukem game has had, all 3 chapters. And then they had their own parody levels made.
Right.
So you had the first level on the PlayStation 1 was a Tomb Raider piss take. And then you had Wipeout 2097 piss take level. Then you had horror themed levels and film themed levels. So when you make a Duke Nukem game, keep the storyline basics, aliens come down and invade and stuff like that.
They steal the babes.
Yeah, they always steal the babes. But you've just got to make parodies. You've got to make
Are you in a weed shop?
I am in a weed shop right now. This is obviously we're playing the extra expansion for this 20th anniversary, and this is part of the world tour.
Okay.
So the first stop we come to is Amsterdam in a weed shop. So
now, I just got to ask, how come the aliens have got their images and engravings up on the wall back there? It's like, have the aliens been here that long now that they're part of the decoration?
Yeah, I think. Well, they bought the shop, I think.
Oh,
now they own it.
So now the aliens are just getting high.
Area Y2 420. Yeah. So fun. Oh, carry on.
Okay, so now the reason why you heard me say it already, but Gearbox, it's the only studio right now that I really, really hate, and I have to ask our listeners: should I let it go now? Should I release and stop hating on Gearbox and give them another chance? Because I still hate them for everything that they did with Aliens, Colonial Marines. I gave them a chance with Duke Nukem Forever, and with the release of this game, I only see this, honestly, as just another money-making scheme for Gearbox, because a Duke Nukem game was in development by another company, and Gearbox closed them down. And they went, no. You will not do anything Duke Nukem related. He's our property. And Gearbox shut them down.
Well, I mean, that obviously that's just a company standpoint. They don't want anybody making money off a property. Nobody ever does. But we are talking about the same company that released Borderlands.
Yes.
And how many of those Borderlands games did you play, Gary?
The first 2, and I never finished the second one because while I was playing the second one, Colonial Marines came out, and then I never ever went back to Borderlands again. I loaded up Telltale's Borderlands game, and I played it for about 20 minutes, and I was like, I don't care that this is Telltale. It still has the stink of Gearbox on it, and so I never went back to it. I just couldn't do it.
See-
I made a promise to myself to not touch Gearbox again or give them any money or any credit.
See, I never played any of the Borderlands games because for me, it just seemed really pointless. A 4-player RPG game where the main draw was the fact that you had 4.5 billion guns.
Which
You know?
were only slightly different from each other at that point. And
Yeah.
I found that for me, Borderlands was a case of matching the arrows. If you got more green up arrows than you have red pointing down arrows, it was
Yeah.
a better weapon.
Yeah.
And so you just kept going, oh, it's got more green arrows, I'll take this one.
I'll take this one. Yeah. And nothing really changed. But all of a sudden, Borderlands 2 comes out, and everyone's like, oh, we got to play Borderlands 2. And I was like, I didn't even like Borderlands. I didn't even play Borderlands 1. So why would I play Borderlands 2?
I only started playing Borderlands 2 because I had friends that were playing it and they wanted me to join them co-op. And like
Yeah.
I said, I tuned out after a few days. I was like, I'm not playing this anymore. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
There's no draw for it. But yeah, saying that with like Colonial Marines and Duke Nukem, every game company I find has a franchise that you nostalgically want to play. Like like you said, we went out and got Colonial Marines because we're big Alien fans, and the game was not great, but we still got hours
yeah.
and hours of play mode out of it. People were laughing at us. What the fuck are you doing? People still laugh at me now for Duke Nukem Forever. They're like, you like Duke Nukem Forever? And I'm like, don't make me pick something that you like that I don't like.
Yeah.
Because I will rape you on it, you know?
Well, now the
On
other,
fire!
the other reason why
shit.
I am... Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
Battle
you
ran
have
into the Battle
you
Lord.
have the rewind in this
Yes,
one? Yes.
yes.
Now, this is something that was in the Megaton edition of the game.
Yeah,
Now, this is the other thing that has upset me with Gearbox again,
okay.
is that the Megaton edition of Duke Nukem 3D was released in 2013 on Steam.
Yeah,
and they were charging $10
I
for
got it. Yeah,
or
I bought it.
£10.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because it was an, honest to God, faithful transfer of Duke Nukem 3D. You could play it on modern systems. That was great. Absolutely great.
Yeah,
But Gearbox had the Megaton version of the game removed from Steam.
Oh.
So that you could no longer buy the Megaton edition of the game. Why? Because Gearbox wants you to buy their £20 or $20 version of the same game, which has the anniversary edition content in there.
yeah.
But it just completely removed that from the market so that Gearbox could make all the money again on Duke Nukem. And it just seemed like a business, monetary, let's make more money off Duke kind of
Yeah,
program.
but
And
if you're a
just
fan, you already bought it before they did that. I mean, as
Yes,
soon as the
this is true.
Megaton edition got released on the PC, I was just like, done. I've bought it. I've got it. I played it through. I did all the expansions.
Yeah.
And then it sat on the computer. And I haven't gone back to it since I completed it.
Yeah.
But that's because I haven't really got the time anymore. But I still can say I bought it, I completed it, and I did it.
Yeah. So this also brings me to the few criticisms I have of this version of the game, is that it sounds like all of the audio files were put through a blender
Right.
and then just thrown back out onto the game. Because if you do a comparison from 1996 to today, playing this game,
Yeah.
all of the sounds just seem really, really muffled, like it was recorded underwater, and none of the weapons' bullets have the same impact as they did in the original release, or for that matter, the Megaton release.
See, now that's a good point. But then it brings me to my other point of, if you've gone through every single iteration of Duke Nukem that I
Yes.
have,
Yeah, me too.
You haven't played them all.
I played 3D. I played a couple of them on the PlayStation that were the platformer ones.
Yeah.
And I played the Megaton edition as well.
You did-
The only one I didn't play, the only Duke Nukem I have not played is this one.
Did you do Duke Nukem 64?
Yes.
Did you do Duke Nukem 0 Hour?
Yes.
Did you do Land of the Babes?
Yes, that was
And
the
Time to
yeah.
Kill?
And Time to Kill, yeah, both on the PlayStation.
See, so then you know that over time the sounds change, and it
Yeah, but we're talking about a game, it's not a different game. This is the same game, which had all the sound files that it needed,
yeah.
and yet they re-recorded them, or they did something to the files to try and make them sound better, whereas in fact all they did was harm the audio files.
And in my preparation, because I knew it was Gearbox, I expected that. I expected that, and so I was just like, I don't care. I'm playing Duke for Duke Nukem and John St. John.
Yeah, well, that's it. You mentioned John St. John, of course. John St. John is an amazing voice actor. We talked about that in Duke Nukem, our Duke Nukem Forever review, where we met the guy, we spoke with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's an all-round great guy. But he's at the end of the day, he's got a constant paycheck coming in doing Duke Nukem. So of course he's going to keep doing Duke Nukem. It's one of his trademark character roles.
Yeah, it's good guys.
Hell yeah! And so of course Gearbox own him too. You know, they can show him that money and say come and do Duke, and so he came back 20th anniversary and recorded new lines.
Yes.
For this game, which is awesome. However, they mixed in his newly recorded lines and kept in his lines from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the new recorded lines seem to me to lack that oomph, that punch, that macho nature of Duke Nukem. And to me, it sounds like it's been phoned in. It doesn't. He doesn't have the same gravitas that he did 20 years ago. Now, whether that's just me over 20 years, just going, okay, Duke, I'm getting a little bit tired of your lines.
Yeah.
You know, I think Serious Sam has managed to keep it up better than Duke, I think.
See, for me,
it upsets me.
You know, I was listening to, when I started this game, I was listening to the commentary, and yeah, it sounded different. There was something.
Well, the developer commentary is it's something extra.
Oh no, Duke's John St. John's lines. You know,
Okay,
I was listening to John St. John's lines, and I was just like, there's something not right about it. And then it dawned on me that I was imagining what it was like from 20 years ago. You know,
Yeah.
I was hearing Duke now, but I wasn't giving him the grace of, right, this is 20 years old. He's going to sound different.
Yeah.
So then I changed it, and you can go into the options, and you can go to like sound settings, you can put Legacy Duke Talk on, which is all the old lines.
Yeah.
But they do sound older.
Yeah.
On a new game. So I listened to it a bit, and then I was like, actually, I want to go back to the new stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's 20 years on.
Yeah.
I mean, I also like the fact you can go and you can turn true 3D rendering off. So the game looks 20 years old when you look up. I mean, if I go outside...
it's the biggest way to tell is when you go outside.
Yeah,
Now, I like that feature
when you go
in
outside
the game.
and everything
Yeah, it
looks
looks
like that.
really
You're just
weird.
like, wow,
yeah.
that's 20 years old. That's what it used to look like. And then you go back to video settings, put true rendering back on, and everything looks a bit straighter.
Yes, everyone's not fish barreling around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like chopping and changing. Oh, I like this. I like that. That works. That doesn't work. And then I just turned it all off, and I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to go back and still kill aliens.
Well, yeah. And of course, the gameplay is as solid and as good as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, you get that retro core, and you want more Duke? Of course.
Yeah, this is where you go.
Yeah. So there was something interesting that this game also done, which was add developer commentaries.
Yeah.
Which, I really liked it in Left 4 Dead. It's the really only one that I can really think of that did very good developer commentaries, which were like these little speech bubbles.
Yeah.
In certain areas of the map.
If I go to options, developer commentary, put that back on.
And so you literally get the get the little microphone, and so when you interact with it, they will talk about the level design,
Yeah.
the animations or the sounds or what they were thinking with the map.
Yeah. It's like this one, the guy starts talking about how his friend lived in Russia. And so this area he actually designed on the area that he visited his friend in Russia, which I was just like, well, that's cool. And then it only lasts for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, but it gives you more insight into how these maps came about.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, except you've got Randy fucking Pitchford. And I do not want to be playing Duke Nukem games and hear his voice. I'm so angry, Ian.
You're so angry at him.
Of all the people in the world, his is the smuggest face that I just want to smash with a frying pan.
Really?
Repeatedly.
What about that guy who did Fable? Is that the same guy?
Peter Molyneux.
Peter
No, I
Molyneux.
don't want to smack him. You
Really?
know, no, he's got a nice charm to him. Yeah, he likes to hype up his games, but he did that with everything, which is fine. But Randy Pitchford just straight out lied, and then after the game came out, continued to just hide away from it, and still just went, "It's the greatest game ever. If you don't think so, then there's something wrong with you." And it's just like, So that's why I asked our audience at the beginning of this video, just to say, should I let it go now, or am I right in just still being, I can't let it go. I can't do it.
Can't let it go.
No.
Yeah, but no, you have let it go. You won't buy the stuff,
And haven't since.
and
Yeah.
haven't since, because personally, you're just like, I will wait. I
Yeah.
will wait. If the game comes out and is one of the greatest games ever made, then I'll get it.
Yeah.
And that's always my view on computer games in general. When somebody says, "Oh, this game's coming out, I'm buying it day of release," I'm like,
Mass Effect Andromeda, cannot wait.
I'd be like, I'd wait. And people are like, why? The game's absolutely brilliant. And I'm like, no, every single iteration of a game series has its issues.
Yeah.
You know, Gears 2 was brilliant. Gears 3, not so great. And then obviously you had Judgment and Gears 4. People
Yeah.
still rushed out to fucking buy it.
Yeah.
Mass Effect, I really loved the first one. Not so much of a fan on the others. You know, but like you said, you're going out to buy Andromeda day of release.
Yeah.
Even if it has all the bugs and issues, you're still going to be there day one playing it.
Yes.
So, from a personal point of view, everyone has their own choices. You know, everyone has their own opinions and says, this game I have to buy.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always Duke Nukem. You know, I went out and bought Manhattan Project when it came out on the arcade back on the 360.
Yeah.
That was not a good Duke Nukem game. That was not a good Duke Nukem game. But it took it back
Yeah.
to platforming.
Yeah.
You know, which was a bit of a step away because, you know, we'd been playing 3D games
for so many years.
For so many years. Go back to 2D platforming. I'm like, can I do this? It's Duke.
Yeah.
I'll just do it because it's Duke.
Yeah.
You know? It was still bad. Don't play it.
It was. So this game, this 20th anniversary, also adds in new weapons and new monsters.
Yeah, it's got one new weapon and one new monster, which is the Fireflies, which are basically grunt flamethrower aliens. I don't think there's any on this level. And basically they shrink down to really, really small, which is where they get the Firefly name from.
Yeah.
And then they fly around like little annoying bastards. I'm just trying to remember where the yellow key door is. I think it's in here.
So even with the new maps, it is a case of finding the red, blue, and yellow key cards to open doors. Doom-esque.
Yeah,
in that
Doom-esque.
nature.
Remembering what area you've been to and where you have to go. Is that a secret? Just checking out.
So of course, yeah, secrets. You know, is a staple of the Duke Nukem games.
Yeah, and going back, I mean, once you kill the Firefly, you get access to the flamethrower, which I gotta admit, I do kind of like flamethrowers in first-person games because it helps me save the ammo for my favorite weapons.
Sure,
and you get to set them on fire, and they run around looking all crazy, you know, moaning that they're on fire, and then they just die, and you're like, yeah, that's fine. I've killed you now. Oh shit.
So Ian, how is this game after 21 years as of our recording?
Man, as soon as you pick it up, you know all the buttons, you know, like what you're looking for. Like you said, with the keys, you're looking for that red, yellow, blue key. You're looking for all the little secrets. You're looking for the cracks in the wall. Not much has changed, but you don't want it to change too much.
So what do you think of the rewind system? Do you think it's better than the save game system?
I've always been a massive fan of the rewind system because it helps. Especially in like a Duke Nukem game, there's always a chance that you're going to fuck up. You may think that you're the best shot in the world with the RPG, and then you strafe too much, you hit the wall, and 150 damage has just blown your face off.
Yeah.
Making that rewind and not having to do the whole level again like I've had to do back in the day.
Yes, yeah.
Keeps the action flowing, keeps you on your toes, knowing full well that once you load it back up, I went to go to the rewind system then.
Yeah.
Can't do it normally. Once you load it back up, you remember, right, there's a lamppost to my right. Don't strafe that way, strafe to the left. Oh shit, I didn't realize there was an enemy there. I'm gonna have to rewind again now. You know,
and you have infinite amount of rewinds, so you can, if you die, you just constantly replay.
Yeah, you just keep, like I said, it just keeps the action going.
It kind of makes me think of Doom, which had that whole, you know, press forward philosophy, and there's no stepping back and backtracking. It's just keep moving forward. So you don't have to reload and, you know, backpedal and keep redoing the same thing over and over again. So I think it is a cool system.
And that's something
It's something that's cropped up in a lot of racing games.
Yes.
'Cause you're like, oh, you need to take that corner better. Just try and take that corner again.
Yeah, just rewind it. I mean, one of the things I think should happen, and it would be so amazing if it did, is if id Software bought the rights to Duke Nukem. if they bought the rights to Duke Nukem and made Duke Nukem like what they did with Doom 2016,
Yeah.
it would be the most amazing game ever.
Well, unfortunately, I think I'd say fortunately, I think they're doing Quake.
Yes,
Next,
Quake,
which,
Quake Champions, I believe it is.
Yeah, which is considering Doom is a little bit slower, I would say, than Quake. Quake is like Unreal to me, where it's just super fast, super reflex action. And I never actually did too well with those games. I was much better at the Rainbow Sixes.
That's it. But it's with something like Quake. I mean, I always loved the stories to Quake.
Yeah.
But once they turned it into just online multiplayer death matches all the time, I kind of lost interest then, because I was just like, there's no story, there's nothing to keep me coming back. All I'm doing is just upgrading my kill death ratio constantly.
Yeah.
You know? Oh shit, fatty. Straight left went. Right, see, that's where the rewind comes in. You're just like, okay, I know where I'm going now. Let's get the devastator out and just unload.
So, Duke Nukem, 20th anniversary is a game for the fans.
Yes.
Do you think this appeals to fresh gamers that perhaps know the name of Duke Nukem? As your daddy's sort of go-to game. Do you think this appeals to new audiences to play a retro game like this?
Yeah, they might get a bit of fun out of it, but the problem with that is that they'll just look at it and go, "Oh, it's dated. I'll just go back to Call of Duty." It's the same with kids now going back and playing the old Mario games compared to the new 3D upgraded ones. These older games nostalgically are for us.
Yeah.
There's nothing majorly new, but then there's nothing taken away. You still look at the old levels and you say, "Oh, I remember where that secret is. I know what I'm going for. I know what's coming around the next corner."
Yeah.
And it takes you back to when you were a kid, nostalgically, and you go, yes, now I can do this better. I can face the enemy. I'm not so scared this time because I'm ready to kick ass. Oh shit.
I distinctly remember the first time ever playing Duke Nukem, and me mum coming in as I was wandering around the porno theater.
Yeah.
I'm like 14 years old, and I'm sitting, and you've got this GIF basically, isn't it, of a woman just dancing with on the stage. And it was like, "What are you playing?" It's like, you just quickly shoot her quickly, like, get it off the screen.
I'm not doing anything, Mum. I'm not doing anything. Yeah, I was exactly the same. Oh shit, mini overlord. My mum was like, "Why am I getting you this game?" And I'm just like, "Because it will keep me quiet for 10 minutes."
Yeah.
Just get it for me. And she was nice enough to do that, but wasn't too happy when I started quoting him like at the dinner table.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm gonna kick ass and chew bubblegum after this. She's like, "What are you saying?" But like I said, fan wise, they are releasing again Bulletstorm.
Yes.
And they are the pre-order states that you can get the Duke Nukem skin. Now I've watched the 9-minute gameplay, and I will admit that it is literally Duke's skin on the main character.
And his dialogue.
Duke's new dialogue, but the game's
old
dialogue is exactly the same. So I'm just like, not much has changed. But then I'm like, I'm going to be able to play as Duke.
I mean, no, it's going to ask that question of, would this game be better if it had Duke Nukem in it? And, it's like, well, I guess we'll find out. I think it's an interesting sort of experiment.
Yeah.
I've seen, you've seen other games. I think it was like the Lost Planet games, which in the multiplayer you had sort of Wesker running around and, all these other Capcom characters, not in the story, but in the multiplayer. And it was like, what the hell is going on? Like, how did Wesker end up on the Lost Planet? Yeah, whatever. I think it's going to be interesting. I actually laughed at the idea of it because I actually liked Bulletstorm.
Yes, I like Bulletstorm.
So I'm kind of curious to see how it works and maybe whether we'll see more things like that happen in the future, because people love John St. John and his voice for Duke Nukem, and it works.
They should just. I mean, Duke's getting to that point now where he's just like that special character. You could imagine Duke Nukem in Dark Souls, just running around. I don't need a sword. I've got this shotgun. You're just like, come on, get me, boss. Things like that. But it's your own opinion and your own taste. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're a fan of a certain series, you will buy everything contained on that series because you're a big fan of it.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I have an addiction to Duke Nukem. It's something I can't get over. I recently just went out and bought Duke Nukem 0 Hour Guide for the Nintendo 64. I don't even own a Nintendo 64. I just wanted the guide to go in my collection of Duke Nukem stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But, it's no different to what people go in and looking at trains, and standing at the sideline waiting for that steam train that you've never seen before turning up and getting the picture
You're
of it.
comparing collecting Duke Nukem merchandise to stamp collecting.
Yes, because I've gotten to that age now, Back in the day, it would be like, oh my god, it's tits. Nowadays, you're just like, I could go on the internet and look at porn.
Yeah.
You know.
So in video games, it's like,
yeah, it's just like, what's the point? But it's the fun aspect. I get to put this on for 5-10 minutes and have a laugh. I don't have to concentrate too hard. I don't have to listen to long winding dialogue. Oh fucking hell.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything major, I suppose is my point. I'm not going to complain about games doing great things like morale choices and all those great diverse things that games do nowadays. All I get to do is just turn it on and just fucking unload into something like this with a shotgun.
Have a massive arsenal of weaponry, and you don't really have to think too much. It's a case of strafing, firing, using the best weapon in the right situation against the right monster in the right level.
Yeah.
And finding those key cards, which that was the only bugbear I ever had for these games. Sometimes those key cards were in ridiculously hard to find places, and you'd spend a long time just running around trying to find it. And then after that, in my case, trying to find the door which the key card belongs to, because you've forgotten where you needed to go.
I was doing so well then they got killed me. Yeah, that's it. Every game used to do that. I mean, one of the worst ones was Hexen. Did you ever play Hexen?
Yes.
I got lost so much on Hexen. I just could not get
that's
it.
because all of the scenery just started to look the same. It was the same brown and grey corridors.
Yeah.
So,
take this motherfucker on.
So yeah, you know what? As much as I hate Gearbox, the fact that you can no longer really get the 1996 version, you can no longer get the Megaton edition, and this is the only version that you can get. This is a must-buy for fans of Duke Nukem, despite the fact that they've upped the price an extra £10, $10.
Shot that fucker.
It's all here. And including the developer commentaries, whether you can stand listening to Randy Pitchford or not, they are kind of interesting. With the audio quality being slightly inferior, in my opinion, to the previous. This is still a must-buy, and it is available on the PS4, the Xbox One, and of course on Steam. So it's not as available as the Megaton edition is, but it's still across all the major platforms. And I wouldn't be surprised if Gearbox end up releasing this on mobile phones. And
I think what they should have done is for the I've got 2 health and he's gonna fucking blow me away. I think they should re-release the PlayStation 1 rendition of Duke Nukem again. That was the one
they should release a package of all the Duke Nukem games.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you'd be able to fit every Duke Nukem game on a disc by now.
That was when I realized how fun Duke Nukem could be more than other games. Was, like I said, that parody level. There was one level, Duke Royale, where it was just all Quentin Tarantino movies.
That's awesome.
That was absolutely brilliant. There was another level. I think it was called Hotel Hell, or that's one of the actual levels.
Yeah.
There was one level which was all horror movie based. You came across a room with an axe in the door and red rum written on the wall.
Awesome.
You go out and you find Jack Nicholson's character out in a maze.
I remember finding that.
All cold and stuff. And I was just like, this is what Duke Nukem is.
Because he has one-liners about it as well.
Yeah, you don't need a big story. That's what the big failing for me for Duke Nukem Forever was, is that they tried to make a big story on it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I just wanted fun. I wanted to run around and kill aliens.
They tried parodying things like Halo and Doom, didn't they? Where you found their corpses or their armor. Or
little bits.
But it wasn't enough. It wasn't an entire level centric or an entire 10 minutes themed about parodying certain things.
Yeah. I mean, it takes me back to Eat Lead with the return of Matt Haddon.
Yeah.
That game, you could totally parody Duke Nukem within those realms because Matt Hazard did it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
do love Matt Hazard.
I do too. Yeah, yeah. I mentioned it. I mentioned Matt Hazard in a video a while ago as well. I was like, that game has stuck with me, despite it being, lacking in every sense of the word for a video game. It fell short graphically, musically, sound design wise.
Yeah.
No, but the parody and the fun I had playing it still just it pushed past all of the polish that wasn't there for it.
Yeah, it just made you look back at old games and go, I want to play old Wolfenstein, and then that comes out on the arcade. You're like, I'm fucking getting it, I want to play the old Shadow Warrior games, and then they re-release Shadow Warrior, which I haven't played the new one, but I did play the old one and complete the campaign of that, and that just peaked Duke Nukem 3D for me. But it was because it came after, and they learned what they could and couldn't do. There it is.
So before we close out, Ian, do you recommend Duke Nukem 20th Anniversary Edition World Tour?
I do, but
Do you recommend it at full price? At £20 or $20?
yeah, you know what? Because you're gonna get more than $20 worth of time playing through it. You'll 1,000 point it really, really quickly. But
achievement-wise,
achievement-wise. But you'll keep coming back, like I do every now and again. I'm just like, I can't be bothered to play that game anymore. I'm gonna go kill some aliens, and it's nice to have it there. At the same time, if you're not a Duke Nukem fan, or you didn't play it back in the day, and to you it's just mindless violence and over-the-top stupidity, don't get it, because you're just gonna sit there moan and whinge about it, and it's just not gonna do anything for you.
Yeah.
There's some games that a lot of people will play, and then there's some they won't. I'm not going to hold that against you. This is my thing.
For sure.
This is my thing.
Well, I just want to say thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. We're back next Friday with another video game. Of course, film reviews on Thursdays. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Patreon. Take it easy, everyone. See you next time.
Yeah. Cool. Woo!